Hey, this is Bunny. We're here today because we're going to talk about washes. How you use a wash to make your pieces really stand out. Remember, we're approaching this from the perspective of you want to paint your own stuff. You don't want to take a lot of time to do it, so you want quick and easy. And washes are a quick and easy way to highlight some of this detail. That's one of the reasons we're using this tile, because of all this different detail. Okay? And we are going to apply two different colors of washes so you can see the effect of a light wash and a dark wash. What is a wash? A wash is a very diluted paint. So here we have an umber wash. Full disclosure, this is, even though it is in this bottle, this is not the original wash that came in this bottle. I have mixed and refilled it many a time. But an umber wash is a very dark brown. So we're going to start with that and see how thin that is. And that's still not as thin as I like it. I like to thin my washes a little bit more. So that wash is thin, but not as thin as I like. So I literally just take a little syringe and it's literally diluted paint. That's really all it is. All a wash is a color of your choice or a color blend of your choice, diluted. Okay, so it's so thin that it doesn't at all, it almost doesn't stick to the brush. It drips right off. Okay, you do want that. You want that dripping. You don't want it sticking onto your brush and flowing like a paint. You want a wash that will sink into all these beautiful crevices. So we are going to do a nice dark wash on these lighter areas. And then we're going to do a lighter wash on the dark gray, because you want this to stand out. You want it to sink into your crevices and pop so you can actually see all this detail, because this tile is actually quite detailed, but you can't see that detail because I painted it primarily a dark gray. So if you want to see that, you need something nice and thin that'll sink down into all these grooves and highlight them. Okay, you can either do dark or light depending on your base color. So base color gray, you wouldn't use a wash this dark. That doesn't really show up much. So if I just kind of move it around, it doesn't really show up very well. Okay, that'll just kind of come right off. Let's dry that up so it doesn't, I don't want it on there. We're going to do a light wash on that spot. But it doesn't show up very well on a dark background because this is a dark wash. So we are going to apply our wash, our dark umber wash, to these lighter areas. So you just take a fairly large brush, dip it in the wash, and move fairly quickly, and just cover that area. You don't have to do anything else. This is not super detailed because it's going to sink into the crevice and evaporate. So we're just going to keep doing this. Remember, this is a super thin paint. Okay, and if you're applying two different colors of washes, so I am going to apply a dark wash on these lighter areas and a light wash on the darker. You want to apply the darker wash first, because if you apply a light wash and you accidentally get dark wash over top of it, it's going to kind of sit there and obscure that lighter wash. So use your darker washes first. So even though my dark wash and my light wash are going in two different areas, if I accidentally go over top of my dark wash with a little bit of my light wash, then it's not that big a deal. But you see how thin this is? It's so thin that it just kind of blarg, right? Because it's a liquid. It's just almost like dirty paint water. In fact, some people use their dirty paint water as a wash because you can. It's basically a very dirty paint water, maybe just a little thicker than a dirty paint water would be, but not by much. Okay, apply that in there. There we go. And in a different video, I'll show you how to make your own washes. You can buy them pre-mixed. That jar I bought in a pre-mixed set, probably 8-9 years ago. Maybe. I can't even remember. But it was quite a while ago. So what we're doing is we're just letting this wash fill up all these crevices. And yes, it's okay for it to obscure that yellow color. That's okay, because it's going to sink down. Now, it is a good idea to have a paper towel under this or something else that's absorbent, because you are inevitably going to drip, because this stuff is so flowy. It's so thin that it's going to drip off your brush. So it's a good idea if you have a paper towel underneath just to catch some of the excess gooiness. Anyway, we're going to let that dry. If you're applying 2 colors of washes, you have to let it dry in between colors. So we're going to let the dark wash dry. Then we'll come back in a couple hours. You have to let it dry for 2 to 3 hours minimum, depending on the humidity in your home. But let that dry for 2 to 3 hours till it is completely dry to the touch, not at all tacky. Then we will come back and we will add a little bit of our light wash. All right, our darker wash has pretty much dried. Now we're going to use a lighter wash. We're using a dulled out silver wash. And this will start to highlight all of these little bits and bobs in the depths. So we are just going to fill these gaps with this silver wash, evenly distributed. Again, because this is such a dark color, we want a lighter color wash. So we're just going to make sure all these little grooves have some of this silver wash. And then as that water evaporates, it is going to leave behind a really nice, wonderful sheen. And we will get to see all of these little grooves highlighted. So literally it's just a washed out paint that you've just really, really thinned down with water. And you just go over and let your gaps fill. There we go. We'll come back when that dries and you can see what it looks like when you have a finished product. And there we go. The washes have dried, both the dark and the light, and you can see both colors do something a little bit different. The darker washes kind of give it a dirty, worn, deep look. So that's great for stone or for walkways, places where there might be some dirt. It's also good for characters like this horse and carriage here, this stagecoach. It's good for things like this that you want to look a little bit mussed up, a little bit dirty, but it's also good if you just want to bring out the definition. The lighter wash also brings out the detail on the piece, but it looks a little bit more fancy, a little bit more bright, a little bit more polished. So there's no right or wrong. It's really what look you're going for. So you either choose something darker than your paint or lighter than your paint. Sometimes that choice is made for you because sometimes you are dealing with a really dark color and you have to use a light wash to make it pop. Sometimes you can choose to go lighter or darker. It really depends on the colors you have used. So this guy I went dark because I wanted him to be dirty, but I could have gone lighter. I could have done a really bright yellow wash and really brightened him up. But I wanted him to look dark and dirty, like he'd been on the road a long time. So that's the effect I went for. Remember, no right or wrong. When it comes to the thickness of your washes, again, that's personal preference. I like to use something really, really thin because it allows me to get a lot on the surface and let it really sink in there. You might prefer a slightly thicker wash. Remember that washes should be pretty translucent so that you see the color underneath. And the color of the wash itself just really sinks into all the grooves. It doesn't cover up the colors you started with. It just gets in those grooves and gives it some definition. So try out some washes, see how you like working with them. Are there other techniques that you can use to achieve this same result or a similar result? Yeah, but washes are actually really quick, really easy. You can make them yourself. I will do a video on making your own washes so that you don't have to buy them. But they're an easy way, especially if you're a beginner, to get into painting and to bring out the definition and detail on your pieces without having to spend a whole bunch of hours worrying about shading, because the washes do it for you. Well, that is about it for today. I hope you will come back with us next time. Bye!